Hey, this is Professor Homa. I'm going to review a little bit of our EX2 Snowman put together exercise. This is the finished version here, or sample, and basically what we did was click on one of these items, and if you click on them, there's the mouth, it kind of tweens back into place. So they start on the ground, you click them, they go back into place. And you could even make them bigger and rotate them at different locations on the ground, but once they go back in place, they'll be the size that they originally were when they were on the Snowman. Here's the hat. It flips around, it rotates kind of half a turn and goes up, and the arms go on there. And I'm only going to go on I'm only going to review part of it because you could kind of repeat the process. But what we're going to do, and again, let me take a look in Word here. Remember, managing the pieces, the first part we're going to do is convert each item to a graphic symbol, and I have all the names that we're going to use here. And remember, it's a symbol inside a symbol, so you got to be very careful on how you do this. We're going to make a hat, and it could either be a graphic symbol or a movie clip, but we're going to make it a graphic symbol just to make it really stand out that it's not the one that's going to be moving. But keep in mind, it could be a movie clip inside a movie clip instead of a graphic symbol inside a movie clip. And basically the way we're differentiating them is by giving them the name hat move when it's the symbol that's going to have tweening in it. And then remember, then after that we have to give it instance names where they'll have the MC on it. So we're going to go through and do this. And everything is being done inside a movie clip too, which it makes it a little more complicated. So nothing's being done out here. We just have our Snowman. So everything's going to be kind of pre-made, embedded inside clips. So here's our Snowman. And it doesn't have an instance name. It probably will need an instance name. Matter of fact, I'll call it Snowman right off the bat, _MC. And remember, instance names are just what we call them on the stage, and that's what code uses to identify them. And the MC helps with code hints also. So that's our Snowman. And on our main stage, scene 1, he's called Snowman. Now we're going to go inside Snowman's timeline. Now you won't see Snowman MC here, because remember, the instance is called Snowman MC, but the original symbol is called Snowman. So there's the Snowman. He has all these things here: hats, arms, noses, eyes, mouth. Left arm, right arm, mouth, nose. The eyes work as one, and although right now they're still separate, and we'll have to put them together, and there's ways to do that that'll be a little easier. I'll zoom in so I can see some of these things a little better. I'm only going to do 1 or 2 of these at most for this video. And keep in mind, everything's on a separate layer here. And even these elements, they're not going to be tweening here. We're not going to tween them like we did the first time so that they're all together. We're going to tween them independently. Each one is going to be its own. So what you're going to see, what hat's going to be, is going to be basically the hat moving movie clip that you're going to see. So it's a 2-step process. Now, when I go into this, it looks like I already did this one. I already made the hat a graphic symbol. I must have started this and then stopped it. So we would convert this to a graphic symbol, and in that case, let me just do the eyes, since I look like I already have the hat done. And then I'll go back and I'll do the hat second. But let's start with the eyes. I have 2 circles here. They're drawing objects. You can see they're drawing objects. If I want to select both of them, I could highlight through them, but keep in mind I may accidentally highlight other things. So the best way to highlight them is to just go on their layer, go on the eyes layer. It selects both of them, and that's assuming you got everything on the right layer. But there's the eyes, and I'm going to do a 2-step process. First, modify, convert to symbol. I'm not going to do a movie clip. I'm just going to do a graphic symbol and just call it eyes. So there's my symbol called eyes. It's just going to be static. And right now it's just like the hat, it's just called eyes. And now right after I do that, I'm not going inside its timeline or anything. I'm going to go modify, convert to symbol again. So it's getting promoted once again. Now this time it's going to be a movie clip, and we'll just call it eyes, and we're going to call it moving, because that's what it's describing what's going to happen here. We're not calling MC or anything. We're calling eyes moving because this is going to be the clip where the eyes move. So we'll hit OK. Now this is eyes moving. Now in order to make the eyes move, we have to go inside its timeline. It's going to be self-playing. So we're not going to tween it here. We're going to go inside. And that's why we made it a graphic symbol first, because the graphic symbol is still inside. You could see here's the graph. If I go 1 step further, eyes, the graphic symbol, is inside eyes moving, which is inside the Snowman. But we want to do this on the eyes moving layer, or not the layer, but the timeline. And you could call this eyes or eyes moving. But what's going to happen? And that's why we had to do it 2 sets of symbols, because we still need a symbol here if we're going to do a tween. We wouldn't have to do this if we're not doing a tween, but it has to be a symbol to make a tween. So we have the graphic symbol for the purpose of making a tween, and the eyes moving is going to be the self-moving clip. So I think on our, let me take a look here again. I think I have you do them all this 2 seconds long. So that's 30 frames. So I'm going to go back to Flash. We're not going to move these to the ground yet until you make your keyframe. So go to frame 30 and make your keyframe, your F6. And there it is. Now you could go back to frame 1, click right on the keyframe, and I'm going to move it down. So I'll zoom out and I'll move my eyes down here. And you could rotate them, you could flip them around, you could even make them bigger if you want, because they're hard to see. So you could even, I'll hold shift here, you can make them big, and I'll just lay them there on the ground, and they're going to go up. Now we didn't do any kind of tween yet. Basically what's going to happen is they're going to start there and then land on his face. So the last keyframe is going to be where they're on his face. Now you can right click here and do create classic tween, and that will make them just kind of move up. If you wanted them to do something else, you could go in the middle of the tween and make sure you see your tween properties over here, your frame properties, and you could make it rotate if you want, counterclockwise, and could go one time, and that way, that means they'll kind of spin around and land on his face. And again, you could always turn that off by going here and just putting none. That would turn that off, but I'm going to leave it on. So that's what's going to happen. Now, the next thing we're going to do while we're still in here, we're going to make an actions layer. I'll call it actions. And we're going to put a keyframe on the first one. Is already there. We're going to put a keyframe here, because remember, that's just the last regular frame or last static frame, even though it's blank. And I'm going to do an F6. Now I have a keyframe at the beginning and end. And what we're going to do is we're going to stop it at the beginning and stop it at the end. And to do that, I'm going to go in here and put in a stop action. Remember to do the open and closing parentheses and a semicolon. And then if you want to, you could copy this and then go to the last frame, go to this last frame here, and eventually you could start navigating through here. And I'm just going to paste it, and there's my stop action. So now it has a stop on the beginning and end. So it's not going to start, when we play our movie, it's not going to start, because we're going to initiate the start, and then it's going to go up there, and then when it gets to there, it's going to stop. So that's what's going to happen, and every object we work with is going to do this. So let's kind of repeat this one more time. Now, what we're going to do is actually click on the eyes to make it initiate. So before I do that, let me go back to Snowman, and let's just do the hat, because we didn't do the hat yet. So we're still inside the Snowman. If we were on scene 1, we'd have the whole Snowman, and let me get off that transform. I'm going to go inside the Snowman, and there's this hat. Now, I had already made it a graphic symbol called hat. That was done ahead of time, so it won't be that way on yours, but I guess I had started it and then saved it, because I'm using the one I was using in class. So it's called hat. It's a graphic symbol, so it's already a symbol. This is the one we're going to tween, except we're going to kind of give it a promotion and go modify, convert to symbol, and this time we'll call it hat moving, because that's what's going to happen now. We'll call it hat moving. Whether you use a capital M in there, doesn't matter, but make sure it's a movie clip, because movie clips play on their own timeline independently of the regular timeline. So it's important we make this one a movie clip. So I'll hit OK, and there it is, hat moving, and then we can give it a instance name up here. We could call it hat moving underscore MC, and while I'm doing this, and make sure I have it spelled right, I'll check, make sure I have eyes moving, and I don't, so I'll give eyes moving, and I'll keep the same process where I'm not using a capital M here, so I'll keep it that way, and I'll do MC. So those are the movie clips. Now I didn't do anything with hat yet, so to tween the hat, I have to go inside the hat moving timeline. I'll double click. Now I'm inside the hat moving timeline. And same thing. I'm going to go to frame 30. I'm going to add a keyframe. And I'm going to change it at the beginning, because it's going to be on the ground at the beginning. So I'll move it down. And what I'm moving is actually the graphic symbol hat. And I'm going to move it down here, and I'll rotate it around manually. Instead of using that counterclockwise, I'll rotate it around. And I'll kind of put it that way. So it kind of flips around. I'll move it over there. And those are basically his eyes and his hat on the ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on them, and we're going to make them so they land on their head. Now, what I didn't do here yet, a couple things, is I didn't tween this. So let me add the classic tween, and let me add the layer for actions. And they're all going to be the same. Everything's going to work the same way. You're going to have to add a keyframe at 30, and then you're going to have to put a stop action. I already have it copied so I could paste it, and then I'll go to this keyframe and I'll paste it here, and now so that stops it at the beginning and the end. And that's pretty much all I need for those two pieces. So if I want this thing to actually work, if I want to click on them, what's going to happen is they're basically going to play their own timeline. That's how it works. So that's pretty much making the clips. All the other ones would work like that. And I'll stop here. I'll go back to scene 1, and then for the second part of this, I'll just show how to do the action script to actually make these work.